Okay, so have you ever had to file a ton of expense reports? You know, racing against the clock, each receipt, another tiny piece of paper reminding you just how much you hate this process.
Yeah.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
But what if I told you that there's a way to escape this, to reclaim some of your life, and it's all about process automation.
Right.
So that's what we are diving deep into today. We're looking at your process automation and digitalization assessment, and we're going to try to use it to give you like a personalized cheat sheet. We're going to cut through all that jargon, get you right to the good stuff.
Sounds good.
And of course, to help me do that, I have our automation expert here with me today. Now, this assessment that you gave us, it kind of breaks down this whole automation journey into like six key areas. Think of them as checkpoints on this roadmap to greater efficiency.
Okay. So before we even start, put our foot on the gas, the first checkpoint is really understanding the lay of the land. That's like process mapping and analysis. It's all about really understanding what's happening right now in your current processes, before you even try to automate anything, which makes sense when you think about it.
Like trying to bake a cake without a recipe. You might end up with something edible, but probably not very good. And you could even, burn the house down in the process. I've seen some organizations that have tried to automate without this really key first step. And it's never pretty. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You don't want to, you wouldn't try to automate a process that's just fundamentally flawed from the get-go, right? So when we say process mapping and analysis, what does that actually mean? Is that literally just drawing a flowchart?
Well, yeah, it's more than just pretty pictures.
Yeah.
It's kind of like detective work, actually. It's
Exactly.
identifying those bottlenecks, the things that are really slowing you down, those roadblocks in your process. And then those redundancies, the things that you're doing twice without even realizing it. But really, it's about understanding why you're doing each of those things in the first place.
Okay, so really get in there in the weeds with those workflows that you might normally try to avoid.
Yeah. Exactly. And the beauty of it is a lot of times you find those quick wins. You find things you can change without even necessarily bringing in technology, but those small changes that make a big difference.
Okay. I do love a good quick win.
Yeah.
But I mean, let's be real. Technology is a big part of automation, which brings us to our next checkpoint, which is technology infrastructure. So what questions should our listener be asking themselves right now when it comes to technology infrastructure?
Yeah. So, I mean, this stage is really about figuring out if your current tech setup can support all your big automation dreams. And, it's kind of like building a house, right? You need to have a really strong foundation before you can even think about the fancy stuff.
Right. You can't build a house on a foundation of sand.
Exactly. So you got to make sure that your hardware and your software are up to the task. Can your systems handle automation, the increased data flow, the processing power that comes with it?
Right. Because what good is a shiny new sports car if you don't have the road to drive it on?
Yeah, exactly.
And I imagine security's got to be a big part of this too, right?
Oh, yeah. Cybersecurity is huge. Automation often means dealing with sensitive data.
Right.
You want to make sure that you've got the right safeguards in place, kind of like having a good security system in your house. You wouldn't want just anybody to be able to, walk in and take your stuff.
Not a chance, no. Okay, so we've mapped out our processes. We made sure that our tech situation is rock solid. Now, this is where it gets exciting. Now it's time to find those automation opportunities.
This like stepping into a candy store for people who like to be efficient. It's about finding those tasks that are just begging to be automated, those really tedious and repetitive tasks.
Give me an example. Give me something that's going to make our listeners say, oh, I need to automate that. I need to do that right now.
Data entry. You've got some manual data entry processes hiding somewhere in your organization, I guarantee it. All those hours that are wasted, just, taking information from one spreadsheet, putting it in another one, entering customer details manually, those are the things that are prime for automation.
Okay, so that makes sense. So we're automating things like data entry. That can save a ton of time. It can reduce errors. But are there any examples in this report that really highlight the impact of this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's a case study in here about a company that automated its invoice processing system.
Okay.
They used to have a whole team that would manually input all the data from their invoices into their accounting software.
Oh, I see.
Really tedious, really prone to errors.
Right.
Just by automating that one process, they not only freed up that team to do more interesting strategic work, but they cut way down on the errors, and their whole invoicing cycle just sped up tremendously.
Wow. So real tangible benefits.
Oh, yeah.
Not just vague promises about efficiency. I love it. But okay, so how do you actually choose what to automate? Because I feel like it'd be easy to just get overwhelmed.
Yeah, you don't want to automate everything. It's about prioritizing. Look for the things that are high volume, that you do over and over, the things that are really rule-based.
Yeah.
That's the low-hanging fruit.
So data entry, we talked about, maybe invoice processing, even scheduling meetings, things like that.
Exactly. Once you start thinking about it, you'll see there's so much that can be automated. It's kind of like putting on, a new pair of glasses.
Okay, yeah.
You see the world in a whole new way.
I'm starting to see it. Okay. Let's move on to the next checkpoint on this journey. It's digital transformation. And honestly, I'll be honest, this one sounds kind of intimidating.
Yeah, it can feel like a big, scary term, but Think of it as like the natural evolution of automation. You're moving beyond automating those individual tasks to thinking about, how you can use technology to change your entire business processes.
So it's not just doing what you're already doing faster. It's about finding new and better ways to do things.
Exactly. It's about like leveraging all this cool new tech to create these really efficient workflows that are customer-centric and agile. Imagine if all those paper-based processes were just gone,
Right.
replaced with these nice, smooth digital workflows.
Yeah, no more hunting for that lost invoice at the bottom of a filing cabinet.
Exactly.
But give me an example. What does that actually look like, digital transformation?
Okay, let's take onboarding new customers.
Okay.
That used to be a mountain of paperwork.
Right.
Emails going back and forth, tons of manual data entry. With digital transformation, you can automate that whole thing from the moment they, give you their information online to generating contracts electronically.
Oh, wow. So instead of dreading bringing on a new client, you're actually excited because it's so easy.
Exactly. And it's not just about making things easier internally.
Oh.
It can totally change how your customers experience your business, make it so much easier and more enjoyable for them to work with you. And these days, that can really set you apart.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like there's probably some pitfalls here. It seems like it'd be easy to just get swept up in the excitement and make some bad decisions.
Oh, for sure. I think the biggest mistake that I see is people trying to jump into digital transformation without a good plan.
Right.
You don't just go out and buy the shiniest new software.
Right.
You really need to think about your goals and what technology will actually help you reach them. So it's more like technology should be a tool. It's not the main event.
Right. It's not the solution to every problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need to be really thoughtful about your digital transformation journey.
Okay. Great advice. So we've done process mapping, technology infrastructure, looked at those automation opportunities, even digital transformation. What's next?
Now it's time to talk about data. And I know it doesn't sound as exciting,
Right.
but trust me, data management, integration, and governance,
Oh.
this is the unsung hero of automation.
Okay. Tell me more. Why is data management so important?
Think of your data like it's the fuel for your automation engine.
Okay.
If your data is a mess, if it's inconsistent or inaccurate or it's all over the place, all those automation initiatives are they're going to stall out.
So trying to run a race car with the wrong fuel in it.
Exactly. This stage is all about making sure that your data is good, that it's organized, and that you can actually access it. It's about breaking down those silos and integrating your system so that information can actually flow.
That makes sense. But what does good data management even look like?
It starts with a plan.
Okay.
You've got to have a data strategy, a governance framework in place. You need to figure out how you collect, how you store, and how you use data across your entire organization.
So no more rogue spreadsheets just floating around on people's desktops.
Hopefully not. It's about creating that single source of truth for all of your data, which will make your automation smoother, and it'll help you just make better decisions overall.
So good data management leads to good decisions. That's a win-win. But I have to imagine this stage also involves a lot of technical stuff.
It can, yeah, but it's worth it. And luckily, there are so many tools out there now to make it easier.
That's good to hear. Okay, so we are nearing the end here. What is that final checkpoint? What does our listener need to keep in mind?
This last checkpoint is all about people.
Okay.
People and change management.
Okay.
We can talk about technology and processes all day long, but none of it matters if you don't bring your people along.
That's true.
They have to be on board.
Yeah. It's kind of like that saying, you can lead a horse to water.
Right.
But you can't make it embrace automation.
Exactly. And that's what this is all about, bringing your team along on this automation journey. You got to address their concerns, help them be successful in this new world.
Because the best automation strategy in the world doesn't matter if nobody uses it.
That's right.
So how do you actually make sure that people get on board? How do you manage that change well?
I think it starts with just being really upfront with people, really clear communication.
Okay.
Help them understand why you're doing this, how it's going to help them, how it'll help your customers.
Transparency is key.
Yes. And you can't just tell them once and expect it to stick.
Yeah.
You got to keep reminding them, what's changing, when, how it's going to impact them.
So it's about bringing people along, not just kind of dropping them off at the destination with no map.
Exactly. And of course, training. You've got to make sure that people have the skills to use these new systems.
Yeah, because nothing is more frustrating than new technology that you don't understand.
Exactly. So training programs, ongoing support, that's huge.
Okay, so we've got communication, training, we're addressing concerns. Anything else our listener needs to remember when it comes to, this whole people side of things?
Remember that automation isn't about getting rid of your people. It's about giving them superpowers, letting them use their real skills.
I love that, giving them superpowers,
Right.
Not replacing them with robots.
Exactly. Free them up to do more strategic work, more fulfilling work.
Oh, okay, I love that. That's a great point to end on, I think. We've covered so much in this deep dive. We started with those nitty-gritty processes, and now we're talking about empowering our people. So where does this leave our listener? What do they do now?
Remember that this was created just for you based on your specific needs.
Right.
So go back, listen to this again, look at your assessment report, especially the parts that really resonated with you.
Yeah, think of this as your automation toolkit. You've got insights, you've got those practical steps. Now go out and make it happen.
Start small. It's okay to experiment. Don't be afraid to ask for help. This is a journey, and we're all learning as we go.
That's a wrap on our process automation deep dive. Hopefully you found it useful and are feeling ready to make a change. Until next time.